Hey folk, my name is Shadows, and along with my friend Trained, we're making a roguelike that is inspired by the Pokémon Mystery Dungeon series. Clicking on this video, I assume you know about Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, but by the off chance you don't, it's a series of games on the Nintendo Game Boy and DS series of consoles developed by Chunsoft. It actually spans several games, and is a spin-off series of the Fushi no Dungeon by Chunsoft. The basic premise of these games is what I would call a roguelike adventure, where you as a Pokemon would team up with a partner and go on adventures in these procedurally generated dungeons. And the first game in the series actually has a remake known as Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. And the first few games in this long lineage actually hold much love and deep connection to me. Both Explorers of Darkness and Blue Rescue Teams, the editions I played as a kid, I hold dearly with my fondness, its story and depth of gameplay, and especially its music. Hold many moments of my childhood, and it would be a case where I would often just sit up late at night, way be past the hours I should be in bed, sleeping, going ready for the morning, playing one particular mission, dungeon or boss, while also playing a game of Sleeping Lions with my parents where they would always try and catch me out and I would just quickly hide my DS under the cover. I always remember it being a talking point in school with my friend groups about one particular section or level or boss, or just flexing on, oh, I've got this guy or that guy and you don't. A particularly strong and fond memory I have is related to Explorers of Darkness. It was when I was about 11 or 12, where I was with my nan and we were in this video retail store and she was looking for some old war films or something like that, and I found myself in the video game section where they had a bomb shelf filled with these older games, DS games and PSP games and all that, but mainly old DS games. And I remember burrowing through it and I stumbled across a copy of Darkness. Me being me, I just grabbed it in an instant, just the glare in my eyes, not knowing that my nan was already behind me. And I can't remember exactly how often as a kid I would get bullied, not to get into a sad story or anything like that, or any infamy, but yeah, I would often get bullied. And I remember this particular day I was feeling really down. I remember as soon as picking up this game, Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Darkness, just seeing it there with its title, its cover, I just remember having the glint on my face and then my nan behind me, just all of a sudden just a hand coming over my head, picking out of my hands, and me looking towards her with a smile, and she said to me along the lines of, I spoil your sister way too much and I don't spoil you enough. And she went over, bought it with me, and she said, this is instead of those sweets I promised you. And that's one of my most favourite and fond memories of my nan. And I think it partially is a reason why I have so much prestige for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and just roguelikes in general. And now, as being an aspiring game developer and designer, it holds much of a degree of inspiration and respect. And it goes without saying, anyone who wants to try out a good, fun roguelike should check out these games just because of its story, its music, and just being a good game. And this leads us on to the now, where we are now developing Delves, a 2.5D style, otherwise known as a paper style, that has some inspiration from the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, along with our own flair and direction, but we still aim to have that certain feel that the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon holds dearly for me and many others I know of. Under our team of Pallioper Developments, this is a fun fact, Pallioper and the logo are inspired by PMD, but I'll leave that for your imagination on what parts are inspired. I'll be majority doing the creative art, that is, doing the game art, the music, the design, while Trained will be doing the heavy lifting of putting all my shiny random stuff together to make something that actually works. And he's just going to be that Master Chief coming in with that programming skill of Unity that I just never been able to get my head around. Our basic idea for the game is going to have that resemblance of PMD, while standing out, being unique, and with our own spins and ideas taking forefront. crafting it into our own roguelike experience. The narrative we have in mind is the idea of an afterlife, or better put, less of an afterlife and more of a transition between life and death, with your character being a recent ascending, moving into this strange and increasingly malevolent world filled with souls and personalities of people who are formed into mythical animal-like creatures known as Tamazai. You find yourself starting out trapped within what's known as a delve spot, otherwise known as dungeons in the wider roguelikes world, where these delve spots are filled with twisted Tamazai known as lost souls, and these souls are people who have become lost, tainted, disbelief, or otherwise trapped and unable to move on. They're stuck between a transition, and they can be quite dangerous because they will attack anyone without any thought or real understanding of where or what they are. And you encounter one lost soul who you defeat, and you somehow manage to restore from being lost to a normal Tamazai. You've discovered you have this talent to bring back these lost souls, and unsure where to move or how to progress, you decide to form the Rangers Guild with the aims of restoring these lost souls and just helping other Tamazai. And the idea here is we're going to have a lot of uplifting beats and a lot of playful moments, but there will always be that element of darkness, sadness, and uncertainty. And whilst we try and make a way light of it in some way, it does, I feel, reminiscent, without spoiling any original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, it does kind of hit those emotional beats that we're looking for. And we've got more expansing of the story than I said, but no more shall be said until we finish making this game. So our progress so far is what we've been working towards, called Prototype 10, which is, in a basic format, is putting it into a playable state which sets in motion the core of our game systems. The rest of this devlog will basically be just showing our progress in the dungeon generation, which is what we've been focusing on mainly. And we started off trying to figure out how would we go about making the procedural dungeon. And this is where I came across the idea, or I should better say theory, of purling noise. What purling noise basically is where you would have a texture of random noise, and you would make something to procedurally pick out a random spot, and it will generate information on that thing. And it's basically a really common method to just make anything that's procedurally generated. And that can range from textures to just game elements itself. But with our case, we tried using purling noise for several iterations, and it was producing mixed results. It was giving the random effect, but it wasn't giving the structure we wanted. And this is where we decided to kind of go back to the basics and think about how else we can do it. And this is where Trained came up with the idea of generation of pairs. That is, you would have your start and another room that would build a path between the two in a grid system. And it works. And without dramatizing it any further, we have the basis understanding of how we want these dungeons or delves to generate. There's a few quirks that we managed to fix out quickly, like for example, earlier iterations it wouldn't fill in the corners. That's where we just decided to fill in the other gaps with just blank squares. With some tweaking to go, we've still got some minor bugs and we've got some minor stuff we want to fix out for the generation. We can, within reason, generate any amount of size of dungeons and change them easily to increase or decrease their size. And we've added like a few other things as well in this update, like basic tile movement. We've added like basic movement for tile play. We've added sprinting. We're using what we call a hit list, where I write down the features that we want in this particular prototype, and Trained or I will just start literally hitting them off the hit list. And we're finding that's a very effective way just to keep development going. But yeah, with Delve Dungeon in play, this is the majority of our first update for you. And this probably more acts as an introduction and a starting point on our current project. And I'll have a more formatted and hopefully more to share on our second devlog, which should be coming soon, depending on how much progress we make within the following weeks. We don't have a particular schedule for how we want to upload this. The idea there is we're going to just see how development versus updates plan out, and that should hopefully see a pattern for schedule when you should expect future updates. But if you want to keep in line with our development, we have social links below for our Discord and a Trello board, which I'm working on currently to to be open as possible, because we're taking a very open-minded approach. So if you have any questions or any suggestions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. Follow our Discord, follow our Twitter. You know what to do. Subscribe if you like, and I hope you all have a brilliant day. And until next time, take care.